Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi is continuing in the fifth parak of Eiruvin, Ketzim Abrin, Mishnah out 5 and 6 today. So Mishnah Hey, Ein Modedin Ella Minamumche. We only measure from an expert. So again, we're talking about using those 50 amma long ropes to measure out that 2,000 amma, that alpayim amma of the techum Shabbos, which is the amounts that people can walk on the Sabbath. Again, just walking, not carrying stuff, because they're not inside the city or inside the Eruv. They're just walking there on Shabbos. So measuring out 2,000 amma. So we only measure from a mumche. Now, the Bartenura actually says it could be Adam Abakim Bimedita, somebody who is an expert in measuring, but he brings a perush of the Gonim that mumche is similar to Lashon Macha. There's actually a pasuk in Maseh about the borders of Eretz Yisrael, and the pasuk says V'yared Gvul Umacha Al Ketef Yam Kineret Kedma, and basically the art school translation is the border descends to the shoulder of the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee. But Macha is kind of lashon like straight shot, almost like it's kind of a straight shot. So the idea is that even though yesterday we learned you could mekader the har, you could pretend to drill through the mountain by using the 4 amma ropes, and each one holds one rope, or you can go around obstacles. But we're teaching here it's better to have a straight shot. It's better to measure out from the corners of the squared-off city in a straight shot to get your techum. Mishnah continues, Riba lemakam echad, if one measurement was a bit longer, miat lemakam achar, it is shorter in another place. For instance, you're measuring from the 4 corners of the city, and out from one corner, they measured out just a little bit further than the other corner. So which one we do? Show me in the makam shriba. We listen to the ones where the measurement's a little bit longer. So that applies when one person does the measurement. So riba le'echad miyad acher, if 2 people did the same measurement and one was longer than another person got, show them the maruba. Again, we listen to the one who's more makel, who says that the chum is a little further out. Afilu eved, this is a new halacha. Afilu eved, afilu shivcha, even a servant or a maidservant, ne'emanim, they're believed lomar ad kon techum Shabbos, to say this is as far as the techum went. Now, we're not talking about their measuring. Of course, if you had an Eved who was bucky in measuring, he'd be allowed to go out and do the measurements. But we're talking about just he's saying this is where the techum goes. You know, if the markers had been disappeared, you didn't exactly know, you would believe anybody to say this is as far as we went on Shabbos. Why? Shelo amru chachamim devar lahachmer elo hakel, because the sages only said techum, did not say techum to be machmer, to be strict and stringent, only to be makel, to be lenient. Now, as we've mentioned before, techumin is derabanan, even though there's a pasuk, that we had recently, that every man will sit in his place on Shabbat. As we mentioned by the man, it says this, you stay in your place. The pshat is don't go out and gather the man, but it also means kind of stay local, don't go too far. So this alpayim amma is a derabanan restriction on travel. There is one opinion in the Gemara that it's deraisa, but some say that when they're talking about deraisa, they mean a further out techum, a techum of 12 miles, which is way past 2,000 amma, that perhaps that restriction would be deraisa, but the techum we're talking about here, the alpayim amma, 2,000 amma, everyone agrees, for our purposes, that it's definitely derabanan. And therefore, we can be makel and rely on anyone's testimony that the techum was here and rely on the greater measurements. Great. Mishnah Vav. Ir shel yachid, a privately owned city, v'noset shel rabim. And now there's a lot of people living there. He's rented it out to a bunch of different people, a bunch of families. Me'arvin etkula. You can make an eruv on everything, meaning you can include all of these streets. Obviously, if it's a reshus rabim, a large thoroughfare, you can't put that in the eruv. There's some discussion about that in the modern postgame about the Eiruvin in large cities and in Manhattan, for instance, which might have 600,000 people traveling every day there. But anyway, this is a private city. They want to do a shituf on all of the streets, all of the mavuot, to combine them to allow carrying. So Ma'arvin et Kula, since it was once from a yachid, once privately owned, the entire city, you can include everybody in the Erev. Vishal Rabim, a publicly owned city, V'nasit shel yachid, and now one person owns the whole city and he's renting out to different people. Ein ma'arvin et kula. Don't include every alley and every chutzner in the eruv. Ela imken, only do you include everything, but not exactly. Imken asa chutza law k'ir chadash b'Yehuda. If you exclude from the city, like you leave out of the shituf mavot, you leave out of this combination, one small neighborhood, which is like the new city in Yehuda, like a new settlement, where they build a new settlement. And how big is that? Sheyesh ba chamishim diurim. When we build a new settlement in Yehuda, halavai, we should be zoche to build many new settlements in Yehuda. They would build 50 apartments when they built a new settlement. So Baruch Hashem, that's good guidance. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who says they have to leave out of the general shituf, this general eruv to allow carrying in the whole city, this Yehuda Dika new settlement of 50 houses. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Shalosh Chatzerot Shalosh Shel Shnei Batim. Yehuda says a smaller amount, just 3 courtyards, and with 2 houses in each courtyard. So just leave out 6 houses. The Bartner here brings from the Gemara that even 1 chatzer excluded would be enough to as a heker. The idea being we need something left out of the general shituf, the general combination, so people remember that this was a Ir Shel Rabim, and the main streets here might still have the status of Rishus Ravim, of a public domain. So you want people to remember that, so they don't come to include those items in the Erev as well. Shkoyach, be well.